Toastmasters, distinguished guests. I'm sure you've seen the news, unfortunately bad news, about how there's 200,000 people in the Chicago area applied for housing assistance from the federal government. There was only 40,000 places for them. And you probably have noticed the headlines in the paper about how poverty in this country is worse than it's ever been. More people, 49 million, that's like 16 cities the size of Chicago in poverty, and this is the wealthiest country in the world. 16 Chicagos in poverty. And I'm sure you've heard about the national debt, huge debt that we have as a country. I'm sorry, I've got this sad news. How many of you are concerned about these things? I would love to know about the rest of you too, but this is a 5 to 7 minutes talk, and we won't have a chance to talk back and forth. But that's what I want to talk about. It's this great, what I consider a great crisis. How many of you think that we can do something about it? All right, that's encouraging. I do too, and that's why I'm here. I think, I've already experienced doing something about things. I put together with an organization, I was a lead researcher at National People's Action years ago. I put together some research, and that research got into the Chicago Daily News. I put together a chart, and Walter Cronkite, if you're old enough to remember Walter Cronkite on national NBC News, he put my chart on national news, and that helped lead to a new law that helped control banks. It wasn't because of me, but it's because of together we did this. Together we win. This is just one example. I have all the courses for a doctorate in political science at Washington U and St. Louis, and then I taught with the American government in Loyola University, New Orleans, and I decided I wanted to make a difference. So I heard about Chicago and what they were doing here, and I came here, and I worked for about 18 years, partly paid, partly as a volunteer, mostly as a volunteer in different community organizations. So I know when we get together, we can get results. And I know on those terrible issues that this country faces, there are things we can do. And I want to talk about 3 of them and see if maybe you would like to be part of the solution. 3 of the issues are, there's a real threat to public services. Like I just mentioned, the HUD thing, the Housing and Urban Development. There are people in Congress who would like to cut that service even more. And as far as healthcare, we like to think there's a new healthcare law that's going to take care of us. According to the Congressional Budget Office, in 2019, there will be 23 million people in this country who will not have health insurance. And research translates that number into 23,000 people dying in the course of every year for lack of health insurance. If you put those 23,000 needless deaths in coffins and stretch them out from here, they would reach 30 miles all the way out to Schaumburg. And yet there are people in Washington who would even make our health system worse. There are people struggling, even the ones that have Medicare. Seniors are struggling. Senior bankruptcies are up. They're struggling with their co-pays. Seniors are now have the same rate of poverty as the rest of the country, about 1 in 6. And yet there are people who would cut back on Social Security, and they would cut back on Medicaid, which a lot of people of all ages depend on for their health care. So one of the encouraging things about this, though, is I looked at polls. I've looked at 7 polls, the only national polls that I found on this. And every single one of those polls says the American people, the majority of the American people say, don't cut Medicare, don't cut Social Security, and don't cut Medicaid. So that's encouraging, as long as the politicians know that we really mean that. One poll said people would be less likely to vote for people who do such things. But do the politicians really know it? Here's another issue that's related. Tax reform. There's a lot of people in this country who don't realize that. I had a chart, but I'm not going to show it to you. Afterwards, anybody wants to talk about this, great. I've got a chart that shows the income of the wealthiest people, 1%, has been going up like this. The tax rate for those same people been going down like this. And there are certain millionaires that are getting subsidies from the federal government, have been. So what does that mean? I'm not talking about class warfare. There's a great piece of information for you. How much time's that being left?
Just 5 minutes.
5 minutes left?
2 minutes left.
2 minutes left. One of the most exciting things is one poll shows that people with incomes over $250,000, 64% of them say they favor increasing the taxes on people making over $250,000. So we have allies. It's not just Warren Buffett who says to Congress, stop coddling us billionaires. It's not just like the head of a new group called Patriotic Millionaires who says, we don't need these tax breaks to do our venture capitalism. That's not why people do their venture capitalism. And as far as those job creators that some people say, well, we can't tax the job creators, can we? Those same jobs creators who got that big benefit from the Bush tax breaks, where are the jobs they created? We're in a mess, and part of it's because of that tax break. So what I have here for you, I invite you to take one of these after the meeting, is the evidence, the polls that I'm referring to, and the addresses of people you can contact and let them know. For example, Senator Kirk recently said, oh, I don't want to tax the millionaires because people want to pay more taxes. Well, what people is he talking to? I think our contact with him, if you know that Jan Schakowsky, our congressman, said if they get one letter from a real letter from someone, that's like 20 letters, because people just don't write letters. So your letter is so powerful. And so it's, when you do it, either it's an organization or even more powerful as an individual. You write your letter, make your phone call, more powerful probably, the most easy in fact, if you have a fax, because then you can write all the things and get it right to them. But writing a letter right to the old address, that's really powerful. So I have a page with all this information. I have another page that shows how all the billions we'd save if the corporations paid the same taxes they used to pay, or if how corporations which are sitting on huge piles of money right now. And another page from a Nobel Prize winner, Joseph Stiglitz, from his ideas about how we can resolve our problem. These are some of the ideas. Am I out of time?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I'd be delighted to work with you and talk to you after.